Well, people decry the lack of competition in sports games, and in many cases, they are exactly right. We don't have more than one official licensed NFL game. We don't have more than one official licensed Major League Baseball game, and I'm not counting RBI baseball. We don't have more than one official NHL game, but we do have multiple golf games. Now, granted, only one of them is licensed with the official PGA Tour players and courses, but there's quite a bit of golf that you can play on the current generation of consoles. If you've got an Xbox One, you can play Power Star Golf as well as the Golf Club. If you've got the PS4, you can play the Golf Club. There's also, Hot Shots Golf, which is not on the current Sony consoles, but will be coming. So you have a lot of options when it comes to golf, and into this environment steps Rory McIlroy PGA Tour golf, which had a rather quiet E3 this year, but there has been a lot of information that's been released about it. So I'll start with you, Brian Weedeye. Were you surprised at the relative lack of information about Rory McIlroy during EA's E3 on-stage presentation?
No. And if anything, I was surprised at how much they showed last year, because that was a big disaster. I don't think this is the crowd, and I expressed this about NBA Live too. I'm not sure it's the crowd you sell a golf game to, because look, they had enough sports games on stage, and golf is, that's not really a mainstream thing. That's a very, there's very particular type of gamer plays golf. And the issue for EA is to reach people that would have bought Tiger Woods, because they're just used to buying Tiger Woods over the years. And now they have to market it differently. They have to market the game differently to reach an audience that normally wouldn't buy, like the Golf Club, which is a game made for golfing purists. So they have to find a way to appeal to a wider audience. And they tried that last year, and it didn't go so well. So I think what they did is more information-based leading up to E3. They told you, well, they haven't really revealed everything about the game yet, but they certainly have been promoting it. And it's just about getting to that point. We're only a month from it, and I think if McIlroy, it's so weird to say it, and this is an issue for EA, and this is why they have to go about it differently, is nobody's saying, man, I got to pick up that Rory McIlroy PGA Tour game. It's just not, ingrained in people's minds yet, assuming EA keeps with McIlroy over the years. It's not even easy to say or type. I have to fix his name every time I go and type an article about it. So it's just it's a difficult situation, because it's not really the audience that they can go for as far as golf goes, unless they tried to make it that last year, and it didn't work out, and it just would have gotten swallowed up by all the other news, even if they tried. So I'm not surprised by it, but I think also people who are looking forward to the game are probably getting a little antsy at this point as far as details. I mean, we don't even have a roster yet, so yeah, it's golf. So I don't think it was a big surprise that it didn't have a bigger presence at E3.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, but yet, EA's got 90 minutes or even longer if they want. I would think that for a game that's coming out in a month that looks as beautiful as it does, because let's face it, everything that I've seen visually is quite appealing, and there's a wide variety of different environments. You've seen the regular golf courses, but you've seen the Grand Canyon, you've seen these sort of fantasy courses. It seems to me like 3 or 4 minutes on stage talking about some of the cool features of the game that are being promised, including the online features and being able to play, in online tournaments and being able to play with multiple people at the same time, and how the entire course loads up and you don't have to wait between holes, and how it's engineered from the ground up. There's a lot of stuff that there's been communicated in their the press releases and the blogs that, to me, again, it just seemed like a natural place to spend a couple, 2 or 3 minutes on it. Ryan Lewis, are you also surprised that they sort of kept on moving. Nothing to see here. Let's get to FIFA. Or considering where they are and where the game is and sort of the audience, do you tend to agree with Brian's reasoning as to why it wasn't more showcased?
Well, I think they probably planned on presenting it in their presentation, but they spent a good 10 minutes talking to Pele. Kind of took up some of that time. Kind of, at least that was my thought from it.
They should have asked him about Rory McIlroy.
Oh, that would have went over real well. Yeah, no, I'm not that surprised. I think in general the sports presentation was pretty watered down, which is fine because you get most of your information from actually people out doing interviews and seeing gameplay footage on the floor and things like that. But yeah, like I was surprised because I think you can get kind of I know with a lot of racing games when when the PS4 and Xbox One, like, I think it was last E3, that was kind of the thing, like show the leather of the seats and show like the reflections off the car and the materials and all that stuff. To me, like if you really want to show some cool eye candy, yeah, like show more from the golf, like from the Grand Canyon, like the cool like courses that they have, throw that in there, and they could probably have done just a quick like 2-3 minute presentation, just they didn't even probably have to get into any kind of features, but just to kind of talk about here's what we're doing, and then I know that we're going to talk about the night golfing, the nightclub, and I think that would also have been a proper place to kind of talk about that a little bit more because you have a little bit more general audience as opposed to like the hardcore golf sim community sitting in your press conference. So kind of an odd choice.
Yeah, and you mentioned that too because like there's a long history of golf on multiple franchises, right? I mean, and I'm not talking just about Tiger Woods and PGA's history by EA, but you mentioned Hot Shots, but also like Mario Golf. There was a golf game that came out a couple of years on the 3DS that was quite popular, and I mentioned Hot Shots and. There's just a lot more people have played video game golf, I think, than a lot of other sports games, in particular in the PS2, PS3, Xbox 360 era. And I think, and let's get into it, the whole nightclub aspect of it clearly is a offering that, okay, well, if you've ever played any kind of video game golf, you can jump into this, you can have a little fun, you got some different challenges, a unique visual style, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was also surprised that came out afterwards and was not more showcased on the stage. Ryan Lewis, what are your thoughts about the nightclub golf? I'm curious what you have to think.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Obviously, we've seen kind of just some shots, some screenshots from it, some like a little bit of video from it, and then you can kind of get the idea of like you're creating this character, and it's kind of a lot more of a fun approach to it. Which, I mean, back in like Tiger Woods 2004, the ones on like the late Xbox and maybe early 360. I mean, you're playing with the like fake Bill Murray's character from Caddyshack. You got all these crazy players that you unlock, and they do all these weird animations. You play in the Greek Isles, which actually I thought was like a really fun course. I think from like it was Tiger Woods like 2004. So it has its roots in that kind of non-sim, beginnings basically. And so to me, it's not that unnatural just because they kind of made a shift and went towards the Masters and kind of had a more we only do sim kind of aspect to it. Doesn't mean that they, I'm glad they made this choice because to me, like, it's not messing with the sim aspect. I can still, do my character, my tournament. I can do my seasons, and go through all the different tournaments and everything. But at the same time, if I want to kill like 20 minutes and I want to do some target practice, some kind of fun night golfing that has some cool visuals and maybe just kind of a fun character, I can do that too. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. So. I'm happy with the decision. I'm even more happy with the decision to have kind of more fantasy courses because, I mean, to be honest, like I think some people, myself included, get kind of bored, playing like TPC at Sawgrass for like the 20th time, when you could go play some kind of cool. I mean, it's a video game. Go play on the moon or something weird, I mean, maybe not that crazy, but I think it's fun. So I'm glad they did it, and I think it is a strategy they're in a position where it's a little easier for them to bring in a casual as opposed to someone from like an NHL or Madden where those games are so complex to begin with.
Another interesting tidbit, 7 courses have been announced. Brian Weedeye, do you think there will be more courses announced? Do you think the game is going to ship with 7 courses? And if so, how do you think you know that there are going to be other courses made available one way or the other? What do you think the approach is going to be, especially considering a lot of the blowback that they've gotten in years past for how they've handled courses and downloadable content and such?
Yeah, I hope there's more than 7, or that they have a course creator like the golf club, but they haven't indicated anything like that. We know 7 are confirmed. I don't think that they were saying that it's only these 7, but we also know that they're giving a course out as a pre-order incentive, which means that there is some DLC component to courses, right? That's the first DLC course, which you need a pre-order code to get, and then they're probably going to offer more that way, which is just going to really irritate people. And it's that was one of the biggest issues with the series for years was, spend $150 to get all the courses and then do it all again next year. The other thing I wanted to bring up course-wise is, it has no Augusta, it has no Masters, and you have to wonder, because they're so careful about their image, the course's image and everything around it. Back in when EA first added it into the game, they wouldn't let people wear unofficial gear when playing on the course. I mean, they're that specific. So I have to wonder if they did. The reason that's not in the game is because they didn't want to be associated with battlefield courses and night golf challenges and stuff like that. They may have lost it over this. So I thought that was an interesting side note to the news on fantasy courses and this nightclub golfing thing, which I think could be neat. I love mini game type of stuff. I think shorter experiences and unique experiences are needed in these games. I knew
especially if you can compare your scores with your friends as well too. There's that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely, a social component. So. But I knew at the same time, as soon as I learned of this mode, that people were going to be, upset. Well, they didn't work on this instead, and they didn't get this in instead, but they did this, right? So, and the issue with a mode like this is, I don't think, I think it's good to be in the game, but I don't think, and I sure hope they don't think this is going to bring new people in. Nobody's going to buy the game for this. But people who are already interested in the game may utilize it. It may keep them around playing the game longer or doing different things in the game. And it could, at the same time, help people improve their skills. I don't know how it can do that when you're using all these wild boosts and stuff, but at least it gets you comfortable with the game in a fun way that's more accessible than a tutorial. I was going to say a freaking tutorial, but a tutorial nonetheless in any regard. Nobody likes to play through that, even when they're novices at the game. So if you give them something fun to do, where you can get comfortable with the controls and the concepts, I think that's an important element to this.
Yeah, I would be shocked if anybody that is making or marketing Rory McIlroy PGA Tour golf is like, well, if we add nightclub golf, we're going to sell an extra 250,000 copies. But on the other hand, I think there's value in creating as many different ways for people to play your game as possible. And we've heard the guys that make these games say, we want to give you a reason to keep that game in the disc, or that disc in the drive. We want to have a reason for you to play it after you did your initial few days or few weeks or few months. We want you to put it back in. And obviously that's for multiple reasons. Number one, the more you play the game, the more opportunity the more you may be interested in spending additional money down the road. But also, you won't trade it in, right? And so if somebody goes to a store to get the game, they'll buy a new copy as opposed to buying a trade-in copy. So there's a lot of reasons. But ultimately, I think, just like with the Madden Draft champions and with different things that different games try, like NBA 2K has 7 completely separate ways to play the game, right? To me, this is a good thing. It looks interesting. It looks different. Will it be great? Will it not be? Don't know. But I'm certainly glad that they're taking chances like this. And because, as I mentioned on Hit the Pass today, the golf club has rekindled my love for golf. I really was not into the last couple of Tiger Woods games. the golf club being so good and so different and making it so much fun to play with my friends, even when they're not online, and being able to go check out all these different courses that people made. And I really just fell in love with the golf club, which has me more jazzed for PGA Tour golf. Hopefully that will be validated, because I'm in on day one, and I'm glad that there's going to be a bunch of different ways for me to play PGA Tour golf. So, well, all right, that is Rory McIlroy PGA Tour golf. They hit the pass E3 213 reaction to what we saw there. Thanks, everybody.